You're listening to the Sports Scramble podcast, where four friends serve up a weekly plate of sports with a side of SEC bias. Now, here are your hosts, Chet, Jacob, Wade, and Tyler.
Let's go!
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Sports Scramble podcast. Just two hosts tonight. Jacob potentially joining later, but myself and Tyler. Tyler, you have a good weekend?
Yeah, I had a great weekend. You know, all I pretty much watched was the March Madness tournament and losing a lot of bets. If I have to give you any advice, do not bet with Jacob because he just wants to do crazy parlays. Bet with Chet because he's been on the money. I'll give the exception to the Texas A&M game. There was this crazy thing of happening. Chet was wanting it at plus 4,000, but DraftKings kept locking it. I was just like tapping it. It was just like refusing my bet. I finally got it at plus 950. That was before the crazy shot went in, but of course Houston pulled it out. So it's definitely been a crazy weekend of betting. Definitely a crazy weekend of sports. This tournament is definitely off to a hot start. I think that more people expected more upsets, but we definitely have some great matchups to look forward to, both on the women's side and the men's side.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of learned my lesson last year on how to bet March Madness is you never bet pre-game because you don't know what's going to happen, right? There's always the Oaklands that are going to upset the Kentuckys and the Yales and the Auburns. Those are the two that I would. You do the live money line wager because you can kind of watch how the game goes and then take a poll on how everybody's feeling, right? And then when you get to about that 5 minute mark in the second half, that's when you go, okay, let's look at these odds. And to my surprise, I mean, Oakland, it was a 4-point game and they were still like plus 950 to win. And I was like, Tyler, let's sprinkle a little bit of money on that one. Let's see what Fiskew's there. Then Yale, I was watching that game. I think at one point Yale was actually leading, maybe if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And they were like a plus 1,000 to win. And I was like, Tyler, I have a good feeling about this. Boom. Both of them hit live money line. It's the way to do it. And then last night, Texas A&M, I was like frantically, Tyler, place the bet. Because it was plus 4,000 and they were down by 4 points. What are you doing, DraftKings? And I think they realized that. And they shifted it to 950, which was still great. I mean, we got it plus 950 with 30 seconds left, and it was a 3-point ball game. And they hit that buzzer beater to go into overtime. I'm feeling great. And then it just kind of got away from them. I think they celebrated too much there at the end, that being Texas A&M. They acted like they won the game, and it was like, oh, crap, we still got to play in overtime. And almost did it in overtime, but some of those shots we were texting back and forth. They were questionable about it. Taking threes, just throwing them up there with a prayer when you really could have gone for twos. But you know what? It's March Madness. We're going to get into it. I'm kind of going to give a little bit of time before we get into it in case Jacob does join us. And then later on in the show, we've got Neil. He's in the comments already. He's talking about how my bets were better than his yesterday. Sorry, Neil. It is what it is. It's hard to bet on NASCAR, too. I mean, I couldn't tell you where to start, but we'll have Neil on later in the show to talk about NASCAR. What I can tell you, Neil, piece of advice, bet on golf. Scotty Scheffler top 10. It's pretty much a lock every week. So we'll get to that in a second. But Tyler, crazy weekend. Speaking of betting, the Shohei Ohtani story came out that his interpreter apparently had about $4.5 million worth of gambling debt, which how did you get that much debt? And I think we're placing our bets to the wrong people if they're willing to front you $4.5 million before you have to pay up. He was just one parlay away from making it all disappear. And two, how does his bank not notify him directly that, hey, Mr. Ohtani, $500,000 is being deposited from your account every week, and we don't know where it's going. So we talked about it. It's kind of crazy that it's this big of a story, but I also feel bad for Shohei if it's all true, right? He came out today, said he does not bet on sports. He had no idea this was happening. And really his best friend was taking kind of advantage of him. What do you think of the whole situation, Tyler?
I think it's really sad. Like honestly, like we saw the interpreter really be by his side. You know, he was his friend, and his friend pretty much just backstab him by doing this. Ohtani today, he had a press conference clearing it up. You know, pretty much saying that he never bet on sports, and I completely agree. I don't think that Shohei would do that. Shohei is completely involved of he's now traded to the Dodgers. He's away from the Angels, so his main focus is bringing a championship to them. So yeah, it's definitely a sad situation. But yeah, I think that this betting situation, with Shohei, with Alabama's baseball head coach now, with somebody on the Raptors, like, and then Calvin
Yeah,
Ridley
there's
too. Like, this
tennis.
has gone like completely off the rails, and I think that these commissioners don't do anything, but now's the time for these commissioners to really step up because there needs to be a serious penalty for something like this. For Shohei, if you're a player, coach, you can't gamble on pretty much anything. So I mean, it's in the rules for a reason. So yeah, I definitely feel bad for Shohei. He's one of the favorite players, and to have like a dark shadow around your name because of this guy, a guy that he's known for quite some time, it's definitely very sad.
It's and to be honest with you, I wonder if any of it's true. Like he can come out and be like, "Nope, didn't know anything about it," and everybody's gonna believe him. I mean, who knows what he's like? What if during some of these press conferences he's like, "My interpreter is stealing my money," and the guy's just like, "Yeah, played a great game. You know what? 2 for 3, had that home run. It's really seeing the ball well," and he's screaming, "He is stealing all of my money," and nobody knows. Um, you mentioned the Raptors player Jonte Porter was apparently betting on prop bets of himself hitting the under on everything, and he was leaving games early due to an apparent injury. That's one way to hit. I mean, Keishon Boutte, you should have learned from that one instead of biting the over and then not getting the football. Uh, it's it's a weird situation. Like, I mean, I'm all for these professional players being able to bet on other sports. I mean, we can do it. Why can't they? Right? Definitely should not be able to bet on the sport that they are in. For example, Shohei in baseball, they're too close to it. I mean, they could definitely, you could change the outcomes of these things. The memes have been great. The picture of Shohei next to Mookie Betts. I mean, that you couldn't script a better picture right there. So it's tough considering, like you said, he's one of the stars. He doesn't really have any dark shadows around him, and now this has kind of come to light. The Dodgers fired his interpreter, which I didn't realize he was employed by the Dodgers, and I think that's why the big scandal is happening, because he's betting on baseball games while being an employee of a Major League Baseball team. Um, $4.5 million, like, golly, that's a lot of money to be losing. Too bad he didn't put out his bet slip, so we could have just been fading him, Tyler, and we would have been up
Mhm.
big. So it's we'll see. He said that Shohei learned about it, gave him the money, wanted him to stop betting. Then he said, "No, I stole the money," which I guess was like an honor thing. Like he came and told the truth, and Shohei's lawyers was like, "We don't know anything about this." Shohei released a statement today saying, "I never have bet on baseball. I've never bet in my life, yada yada yada, and so on." So we'll see how that plays out. But with that being said, MLB opening day is Thursday. So, Tyler, we're going to get into some division winners. Um, we'll predict each division preseason picks, way early preseason picks to win the World Series. So, Tyler, start it off. What division you want to start with?
Let's just go down the line with the AL East. The AL East is stacked. For our audio listeners, I'll go ahead and read off the teams. So you have the Tampa Bay Rays, Toronto Blue Jays, New York Yankees, the Jacobs Boys, the Boston Red Sox, and the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore was actually the team to win it last year. This is a stacked team that Baltimore has. They have Corbin Burns now. The Yankees, they got better too. They added Juan Soto, Alex Verdugo. The Rays are definitely going to be those consistent team. But I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles to repeat the AL East. I think that their pitching staff, they got better. And honestly, they have a young, talented core too. They have Jackson Holiday pretty much waiting in the wings in AAA. And then, you got Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman. So I think that this is going to be a team to watch, may potentially be the best team in the AL, especially with addition like Corbin Burns and the guys that they already have. So I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles winning this division back to back. But I wouldn't be shocked if we get at least 3 teams from this division to make the playoffs. This is a loaded division once again.
Yeah, I saw Baltimore's calling up Jackson Holiday. I think he's starting in the show on opening day. Last year I picked the Red Sox, and boy, I could not have been more wrong. So that one, sorry, Jacob, I'm going opposite. I don't want to pick the Orioles just because you picked them as well. So I like what I'm seeing from the Yankees. Let's go Yankees to win the division this year. They seem to always be a big favorite, and it never works out. So, what you want to do? AL West now, or where are we going?
We're going to say the best for last, the AL West. We'll go to the AL Central. So you have the Minnesota Twins, Kansas City Royals, Detroit Tigers, Cleveland Guardians, and the Chicago White Sox. So you're quite familiar. Tell us about the White Sox opening day starter. Who's getting the start for the White Sox?
Yeah, so I was thinking about saving this for my hidden gem, but since you mentioned it, I'll go ahead and say it now. So Garrett Crochet is getting the start for the Chicago White Sox. Many of you may know that are watching, your family and friends. He's from our hometown, from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. He actually played. We called it the minor leagues. It was like 10-year-old baseball. My dad was my coach. We're out there practicing, and one day, him and his dad walk up. He says, "Hey, my son wants to play baseball. Do you have a spot on your team?" And my dad, nice guy, he's like, "Yeah, sure." Does he know how to play? He goes, a little bit. Never really played organized baseball. Dad gave him a glove, taught him how to throw. The kid, back 10 years old, could throw gas. I'm telling you, straight gas. He played shortstop for us and would pitch occasionally. He was a little wild on the command there, beamed a couple of kids. Best play I'll ever remember from Garrett was I don't even know if he remembers me. This was so long ago, but still clear as day in my mind. He's on third base, steals home, right? Catcher's covering the bag. He's out, clear as day. Well, instead of like running into the catcher, trying to slide, he jumps over the catcher. Just jumps over him, does like a front flip, lands on home plate, gets up, safe. We win the game. Everybody goes crazy. I'm like, did this kid just do that? Now he's pitching in the major leagues. Dude throws like 103, 104 with his fastball. Cool to see. He was a closer at Tennessee. LSU knocked him around when the one time we faced him. But cool to see him starting in the majors on opening day. So my pick, I'm just going to go with Chicago White Sox to win the AL Central. So Tyler, who do you got?
Yeah, the White Sox, they did not have that great of a season last year. They struggled mightily. We'll see. I don't see them winning the division. I think that this is going to come down to 2 teams again, Minnesota and Cleveland. And I'm going to go with Minnesota again. I think that this lineup really showed out. They didn't show out in the playoffs. They ran into the Houston Astros, who's definitely been a juggernaut in the AL. But I think that Cleveland's pitching is definitely going to keep them in this division. I think that Detroit is definitely a couple of years away. Kansas City isn't there. Yeah, they do have some young talent, but I think that Minnesota, I got to go with them. So give me the Twins to win this division. Now let's go on to the AL West, where you have the Houston Astros, the defending World Series champion, the Texas Rangers, Seattle Mariners, Oakland Athletics, the Los Angeles Angels. Well, I'm going to tell you already who's going to be the worst 2 teams. It's going to be the Angels.
Yeah,
they're not going to be good anymore without Shohei. And then the Oakland Athletics, they're definitely going to not be that good again. Seattle, they might be a wild card team. I'll be interested to see if they sneak in. But this is a 2-horse race between the Astros and the Rangers. The Rangers won the World Series, but keep in mind the Houston Astros did win this division last year. And I'm going to go with it again. I think that Houston gets it again. I think that they definitely added some key pieces in the bullpen. They added Josh Hader. I think that whatever they already have with Ryan Presley in the back of their bullpen, they definitely have, Framber Valdez. He had a great season last year. Christian Javier. We already know what their lineup is. You got Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve. The list goes on and on. Yordan Alvarez. So I think that both of these teams, I would not be shocked if they get over 100 wins. This is definitely going to be the top 2 teams to deal with in the AL, but it's hard to go against the Astros. They've definitely been dominating the AL West.
I'm going with my Stros, man. I'm going with you. I can't pick against them. I definitely can't pick the Rangers. This year I'm going to make a conscious decision to try to watch more Major League Baseball. I watch all of college baseball, get tuned into that, but Major League Baseball is just so long, and I typically tune in towards the end of the season. But I think for just the sake of discussions on the show, I'm gonna try to keep in tune more with the standings and what we got going on. Definitely gonna watch more Astros games, but I'm kind of in between Houston and Dallas or Arlington in terms of geography wise. So maybe I'll try to go to a couple games from both teams. But I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna pick the Stros to win the AL West this year.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be one of those divisions to watch. I think that whoever wins, you might get the World Series winner once again from the AL West and the AL East, because those definitely going to be a top heavy league. So let's go on now to the NL. Let's start off with the NL East. You have the Miami Marlins, who made the playoffs last year. The Philadelphia Phillies, they went on a deep run once again before losing to the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then LCS, the New York Mets. Well, they're the New York Mets. The Washington Nationals. We'll see. You know, they just drafted Dylan Cruz. We'll see how long it takes for Mr. Cruz. I don't think it's going to take very long. I think that Cruz is going to work his way up. And then you got the Atlanta Braves. They had the best record, but once again, they got knocked out by the Philadelphia Phillies. I think it's definitely going to be a race between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves. Would not be shocked if we see both of those teams make the postseason again. I don't think you're going to see the Miami Marlins make the postseason this year. I definitely think it's nothing against them, but I definitely think that the NL is definitely going to get better, especially with the Dodgers pretty much being a super team now. But I'm going to go with the Braves. I think that, they got 100-plus wins. It's just whenever the Braves get to the postseason in the past couple of years outside of 2021, the Phillies have definitely been their kryptonite. So we'll see if that continues. But I think that's going to be a great two-team division race. Nothing against all the other teams. I just think that Philadelphia and Atlanta is just the best two teams in this division. It has showed the past couple of years. But I'm going to go with the Braves to win this one. They're definitely a loaded team once again.
Dude, have you seen that Spencer Strider? That's his name, right?
Yeah.
I pronounced that right. Mustache Man himself added like a third pitch. I mean, the man has been. I think he had just fastball changeup, and now he's added a curveball or a slider. So I saw a
Yeah.
graphic on it. The amount of strikeouts he had in spring training, that's going to be a problem, Tyler. I mean, nobody may hit him at all. Bet the over on his strikeout props every game, from what I'm seeing. With that being said, I don't want to agree with you just for the sake of the show, and I hate to pick him. I really do, because I'm not a Phillies fan. Give me the Washington Nationals, baby. They got
Okay.
Cruz. It's a whole new team. They're going to call him up early. He's going to be what Bryce Harper was in Washington. Give me the Washington Nationals to take the NL East.
All right, let's go on to the NL Central. I think that this is definitely wide open. The NL Central definitely has some young and talented teams. The St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals absolutely struggled. I think that was a surprise of last season. The Cardinals struggled, and they didn't even make the postseason. It's been a while since St. Louis, so we'll see if St. Louis can bounce back. Pittsburgh Pirates, another one of our guys, Paul Skeens. We'll see how long it takes. I think it's not going to take very long for him. Pittsburgh, that's what they need is pitching. I think their offense is there. You got Key Brian Hayes. You got that guy, I can't remember, who is absolute freaking bombs. But then you got the Cincinnati Reds, very young and talented team. They're pitching led by Hunter Green, who throws 100 miles an hour. So Cincinnati, they were one of the hottest teams to start the season, but they kind of fell off. Chicago Cubs, I think that could definitely be a sneaky team to make the postseason once again. They re-signed Cody Bellinger, still have Dansby Swanson, and then their pitching staff is very young too. And then Milwaukee Brewers, they're defending champs. I don't think that they're going to defend their crown. I'm going to go with maybe possibly America's favorite team. It was for the first half of the season. Give me Ellie De La Cruz and the Cincinnati Reds to finally pull through and win this one. But I wouldn't be shocked if we saw like Pittsburgh come out of nowhere or Chicago win this division. I think that this is going to be a division that it might get maybe like an 80 plus win team. I would be very shocked if the winner gets 90 wins. I just think that everybody's going to beat each other up in this division. But give me the Cincinnati Reds. I think it's been a long time for them. I think with their young talent, they finally pushed through and win the NL Central.
So the Reds, I like that pick. It was so much fun watching Ellie De La Cruz play last year, and just kind of seeing what he did with the team. But I'm going to go, they finished dead last year, and I think it's a bounce back year. St. Louis Cardinals, actually, I'm looking at some odds for whatever that's worth. They're actually plus 190. They're second favorite to pick behind the Cubs to win the division. And Why not? Let's go. Let's get crazy. Let's go St. Louis Cardinals.
All right, finally, we're going to go to the NL West. You got the Los Angeles Dodgers, who've
Let's
already played
just
a game.
Dodgers. Let's just go
San Diego
Dodgers.
Padres, they're actually 1-1. They already started their season out there in South Korea. They played a 2-game series. Dodgers really hammered them, and then the Padres won 15-11 in an offensive slugfest. So both of those teams are already 1-1 on the season. And then you got the Arizona Diamondbacks, a team that surprised everybody, making it to the World Series. So we'll see if the Diamondbacks can do it again. Then you got the Colorado Rockies and then the San Francisco Giants. I think this is pretty easy. It would be probably one of the shocker things if the Dodgers don't win the division. But this is like an easy bet. This team is going to win 100-plus games. They added Shohei Ohtani. Not only do you get an elite bat, but you also get another pitcher to already loaded pitching staff. So I bought him two. Huh?
Can he pitch this year? I thought isn't he shut
Maybe
down for the
so.
whole season, or is he only batting this year with the recent surgery?
He may just be only batting, but even so, even if he doesn't pitch, that bat. I mean, just look at the lineup. Mookie Betts now. If you didn't look, he's now the shortstop. So he's gone from the outfield to second base to now the shortstop. So that infield's absolutely loaded. You got Freddie Freeman playing at first. So I think that this is going to be a team. I also, I picked the Padres to go to the World Series, and they absolutely choked for me. So I'm not buying into the hype of the Padres once again. We'll see if that crew can get it going. But this is easy. I think that everybody's going to be picking them. So go with the Dodgers.
I'm with you on the Dodgers. I just looked it up. They did say that Shohei will not pitch in 2024. I don't know if that means the full 2024 season or just, how that's going.
Maybe they get him in the postseason. Who knows?
But don't expect to see him on the mound unless he makes some sort of miraculous recovery with his $4.5 million gambling debt. But yeah, I think it's pretty easy there going Dodgers. I know we said it last year, they were stacked and they didn't live up to the hype. The Arizona Diamondbacks kind of came out of nowhere. Really liked the Diamondbacks this year to possibly repeat, but I mean, you had Shohei, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. The list goes on and on for the Dodgers. I saw Mookie try to do a little Derek Jeter style play at shortstop, didn't work out. And it was kind of weird. They've already started. I was very confused because I was like, I thought opening day was Wednesday, and we got the Dodgers and Padres playing right now. Do these games count? They're not. Turns out they do count down in South Korea. So yeah, but Tyler, I'm with you. Going Dodgers. So way too early. World Series matchup. Who you got?
All right, I think I'm going to start on the NL side. I definitely going to go with the Dodgers. I think that everybody's going to be picking this one, but it's going to be very tough to beat this team in the postseason. I know that they've had their chokes in the past couple of seasons, early outs, but I'm going to do it for Shohei. I think that Shohei Ohtani finally makes it to the World Series. The Dodgers get over the hump. And on the AL side, I'm going to go with a sneaky team here. Give me the Baltimore Orioles. And give me the Baltimore Orioles to win the World Series. They're a very young team. They got swept in the first round. I believe it was against the Twins before the Twins ended up making it to the Astros in the ALDS. Actually, no, they got swept by the Rangers. The Rangers absolutely dominated them. I remember that. But I think that they're going to use that fuel to the fire. You add a guy like Corbin Burns, who's definitely going to be an ace for their staff I think that 1 through 9, I definitely think their batting lineup. So coming from the AL East, which is definitely a loaded, division, give me the Baltimore Orioles, and you can get them at a very good value too on the books too.
So I'm going completely wacky here, Tyler. I'm just throwing all logic out. I like Dodgers, but you picked them. Orioles also a good pick. I'm going St. Louis Cardinals versus the Chicago White Sox. We're just going completely off the book, wild predictions, because if it works, I'm a genius. If it doesn't, I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. More likely, you're probably going to see the Rangers or Houston back in either the championship series or in the World Series. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers make it, if I'm being completely honest. Dodgers or Diamondbacks. But let's go St. Louis Cardinals first. Chicago White Sox, with the White Sox taking the crown in the World Series. So we'll be checking in pretty often on the baseball season as it starts to kick up on Wednesday. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Before we switch gears to March Madness, you know what? Let's go ahead and I take it back. Hidden gems, Tyler. What you got for your hidden gem?
All right, hidden gem is another controversy with Deion Sanders and his boys. So we all know that Deion Sanders is the head coach for the Colorado Buffaloes, and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are probably in their last year for this. So I actually go to you because I'm trying to pull up the article. So why don't you kick it off with that for us? You kind of caught me off guard here.
Yeah, I'm just kind of all over the place right now. Mine comes from a AA team for Major League Baseball, none other than the Biloxi Shuckers, hometown team. Shuckers, if you're not familiar with that, is an oyster. Yeah, I have a Shuckers hat. I don't know where it's at. I think it's in my closet, or else I'd grab it for you real quick. But they have a pretty neat logo. It took a while for Biloxi as a city to land on that, if people liked it or not. Last year, they started this alternate logo for a couple games. I want to say they were something with Mardi Gras. Is that right, Tyler? I don't remember what they were last year.
I don't remember.
This year, they have decided that they are going to be the Biloxi Beach Chickens. If you're not familiar with a beach chicken, it's basically a seagull. The logo is a chicken in a straw hat on a beach. It's very interesting, but just wanted to see what your thoughts were on these minor league teams doing alternate identities. I'm all for it because minor league baseball, it's supposed to be fun. You get fans to the stadium, smaller cities, more of an entertainment value, not so much on the talent and baseball being watched. But beach chickens doesn't really roll off the tongue. Biloxi Seagulls, kind of a little bit. Let's see what else we got. Biloxi. Okay, maybe beach chickens was the best thing they got. But what do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have really nothing against it. If you just want to do some alternate stuff, you got to switch it up. You got to keep the fans interested. I know in their first year, they were pretty much selling it out, and now the attendance kind of falling off. I just don't know if it got that same hype as it did a couple of years ago. So you can't just bring out the same product. I know that the Shuckers, isn't as good as they were in the when they first.
That's right.
I remember like in their first season.
Seen Orlando Garcia,
guys like Orlando Arcia, Corbin Burns, coming through, they absolutely dominated pretty much everybody. They got to the championship, ended up losing, I think, to the Chattanooga Lookouts in their first season. So yeah, switch it up. They did the Mardi Gras stuff. They changed up their uniforms. I think that the minor league teams are really taking a page out of the book of the Savannah Bananas, because the Savannah Bananas, they really do the fan experience.
They sell out stadiums.
They sell out. They sell out pretty much everybody. I bet if they go to the Big House in Michigan, they would sell that out if they wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah, they would, because I think that they definitely do the branding and marketing well.
I think they took a name after the Baby Cakes, former New Orleans team, no longer there.
Yeah,
Biloxi Baby Cakes. That's what they did last year. Or maybe it was just King Cakes. Shoot. But all right, what do you got for us, Tyler? Hidden gem, talking about
all right, I got it. So Deion Sanders says that Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter is pretty much going to be pulling an Eli Manning and avoiding certain teams in the NFL draft. So a quote I'll give you here is, "I know where I want them to go. There's certain cities where that ain't gonna happen," said Deion Sanders. It's going to be an Eli. So I got to go scroll through the article here. This caught my eye right here. So Sanders, like Cale Williams pretty much had this whole debacle that he didn't want to play with the Chicago Bears. But Deion saying that he doesn't want Shedeur to play for cold weather NFL team whose season, unlike the college season, even in frigid Boulder, Colorado, means he's playing home games well into December and January. So Deion Sanders does not want Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders going anywhere cold. So if that pulls up the move, then I guess he's going to Miami.
Hey, Deion, doesn't get cold in New Orleans, brother. Send him to New Orleans. We'll take him.
Oh, please.
I'm honestly not surprised that came out. I don't think Deion has the same amount of pull that the Manning family does, considering his multi-generational talents. And it was just Deion that played in the NFL.
Honestly, I'm happy about that move because Eli move wanting to go to the Giants. Open up. I believe that was the same year that Drew Brees got drafted. Correct?
I think it was Philip. Is Philip Rivers? I thought it was Philip Rivers.
No, never mind. Then yeah,
it was Rivers and Eli that flopped. Yeah, because I think Drew and Peyton may have been, if not the same year, closer. Yeah, Drew's definitely younger than Peyton, but old. I think he's in between Peyton and Eli. If that yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was Rivers and Eli that swapped. Because Rivers was drafted by the Giants, Eli was drafted by the Chargers. I could totally be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah,
I mean,
that sounds
I
about
was like
right.
5 years
was
old
like
at the
going.
time.
Yeah, I think it was Phil Rivers and Eli Manning. But I was about to say, it really opened the door for Drew Brees. He got drafted by San Diego, and then he almost went to Miami with Nick Saban. Then Nick Saban ended up going to Alabama. That opened up the door for him to go to New Orleans. So to this day, I that's like the one thing I will thank Nick Saban for is opening the door for Drew Brees to go to New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, LSU had to lose him, but he came. He did good things for New Orleans
Yeah.
in the long run. But yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't really know. Like all these parents think they can change the draft. The draft has been this way forever. Like it's who you get drafted by. That's how it works. You go to who you get drafted by, and you play a couple of years. You don't like it, you request a trade. Simple as that. Just be happy you're actually playing in the NFL. You saw the stuff Shadur said today about like, oh, I had it tough. I went to a private school, and but I don't see none of those 6A players from big Texas schools. And people listed off, okay, well, Baker Mayfield went to the playoffs. Kyler Murray went to the playoffs. There was one other one. Recent guy. Shoot. Who am I thinking of? Drawing a blank. And they're both playing in the NFL. Like, you didn't have it that hard, Shadur. I'm sorry to say that. But we'll see how he does this year at Colorado. Should be interesting. So we'll stay on the segments. Dog of the week, Tyler. Here we go. Who got that dog in them? Everybody's favorite segment every week. Tyler, I'll let you start.
I think that this is a first in the dog of the week. We're going to have a walk-on of getting the dog of the week, and that is going to be none other than Houston Cougars' own Ryan Elvin coming off of the bench after like pretty much the whole entire fouled out for Houston. I will say the honorable mention for this one, Sharp for Houston, 30 dropping 30 points. Immediately overtime, boom, three-pointer. But Ryan Elvin coming off of the bench when he needed it the most. And what does Texas A&M do whenever they were down by 2? Actually, they were down by 3 at this point. So, yeah, it was late in the overtime with about like 20 seconds left. They fouled the walk-on Ryan Elvin. He only shot the ball 4 times. He was 3 for 4 from the free throw line.
He's a senior.
Yeah.
He's a fourth-year walk-on.
Yeah, fourth-year senior, doesn't have any stats other than shooting some free throws. I was saying to Jacob, him and I were on a call, and I was like, man, this guy has to be nervous. He was. On the first one, it was strong. It doinked off of the back end of the rim, and then the second one absolutely drained it. Went up 4 points, and like I mentioned, Texas A&M selfishly, some threes from Canada and pretty much absolutely doinking it. So Ryan Elvin, he finished in the stat line with only 1 point, but that 1 point was the most crucial. Up 4 and pretty much sealing the deal for Houston. So a great game last night, and dog of the week goes to the walk-on himself, Ryan Elvin.
Neil's going back-to-back with Connor Zelich, who got the pole in his first NASCAR series start in the trucks race Saturday, finishing 5th as well. So we'll get more NASCAR updates from Neil in a little bit. Mine is also in March Madness, which I think everybody could predict it. It's the man who signed the deal with TurboTax, Buffalo Wild Wings, Mr. Jack Golke. Out of nowhere, there's always one guy plays for Oakland. Unfortunately, their tournament was cut short yesterday. But, I mean, he ties the tournament record against Kentucky with the 10 threes. And then yesterday, he's just pulling up all over the place. I think he made 6 threes, had 22 points. I mean, Tyler, we were talking about it before the show. He doesn't set his feet and shoot. It's fade away, get as far away as I can from the basket, most uncomfortable looking shot, Drano, straight cash. Without him, I think Kentucky would have steamrolled Oakland. So, that's my dog of the week, Jack Golke. And hey, college career may be done, and he might have earned himself, but maybe not a draft pick, but maybe a free agency, a little 10-day contract. But he definitely made himself some NIL money with Buffalo Wild Wings and TurboTax. And that's really how NIL is meant to be done. You play a good game and say, hey, we're going to send you a shit ton of Buffalo Wild Wings to your hotel room so you can enjoy. I mean, the man's doing commercials with his iPhone. So congratulations to Sir Jack on that one. But let's get into March Madness, Tyler. I was looking at my bracket earlier. Let me pull up the one that I had. I picked Houston to win. 24% correct. Pretty good. I am currently ranked 20 millionth in the world. Dead last in our little tournament that we've got. We got a group of fans in there. I still got Houston alive to win. I think that might be it. Iowa State still alive. And UConn still alive. Okay. Man, we got some options. Tyler, how's your bracket looking?
Well, my Final Four is now a Final Three thanks to Yale beating Auburn. I think I learned my lesson. Don't pick an SEC team to go far. I have another one. We'll see if Tennessee can really go through it. But Kentucky, once again, I had them going to Elite Eight. They dropped the egg once again. Honestly,
Yep.
John Calipari, he might be done. Kentucky fans are over his butt. Like I would not be surprised.
$36 million buyout.
Well, Kentucky fans are gonna start a GoFundMe or something because they're not gonna take it anymore. I mean, 2 years ago they lost a 15 seed. This is definitely not Kentucky. But really, outside of that, I have Houston win the national championship. They survived against Texas A&M. They'll have a tough one against a Duke team that just absolutely dismantled James Madison. Poor James Madison. I was happy for them to beat Wisconsin. They dominated that one, but I was really depressed with McNeese. They were the team I was just beating the drum for, and they just absolutely got blown out. I guess you can't bet against Mark Few. That man just consistently goes to Sweet 16s. Another dud was New Mexico. I did not see Clemson going this far, so credit to them. I guess another dud for me would be Florida. They got bounced after giving up 102 to Colorado. I had them going to the Sweet 16.
Hey, they came back and made it interesting there. Well, I mean, we were talking that was a potential. I was looking at a live money line bet on Florida, and they came back and they made it interesting. I think the final score 102-100, right on the buzzer beater.
Yeah, but outside of that, sit at 16.9 million in the ranks, seventh. But I think my dog of the league has got to be Matty Ice. I mean, this guy has been on the money with his picks. I mean, what are we doing? We need him whenever we talk about March Madness, we need to get Matt Jones on the show immediately because he sits at the top with 450 points. He did have Vermont. I definitely like that. It was a spicy one. But with Purdue being this champion, the way that Zach Edey and that crew absolutely just demolished Utah State, would not be shocked to see Matty Ice winning it all. So my dog of the week outside of the walk-on has to be Matty Ice.
So I reached out to Matty Ice. I said, hey, Matt, we got a little shorthanded show. Maybe you want to come on and discuss your bracket picks? He said, sorry, man. The wife's got me watching The Bachelor finale tonight. So, Matt, prayers go out to you. I was watching it before the show started.
And on the other hand, you remember whenever we did our Sports Scramble bracket fill out? Well, here's an update for everybody. 16 update, 340 points for that one, 21.8%. Our Final Four, though, is still intact. We have UConn over Arizona, Houston over Creighton. All four of those teams are alive. So that's where we can get our points. Jacob screwed us, picking freaking Grambling over Purdue because he just wanted to be a ding-dong about it. But you know what? That bracket still looking good. Honestly, it's projected more points than my normal one. So who knows?
Yeah, me
Maybe
too.
that one will be mine.
Yeah, so let's look at Sweet 16 second chance brackets. We don't have to pull it up. I've got it on the iPad. We'll just the two of us will discuss the picks. So start over on the East, UConn, San Diego State. Tyler, what are you thinking? I mean, the Huskies are looking unstoppable right now.
Yeah, the Huskies 10.5 favorites. Just knocked out Boo Booey and Northwestern. Both of those games, Stetson just ran into an absolute juggernaut. The interesting one. This is a national championship. Outcome as the national championship rematch. I win this one. San Diego State looked pretty good yesterday against Yale. Really dismantling that team. So I got to go with UConn. I mean, really look at their path now. I thought that Auburn was going to give them the best challenge. I don't see anybody in this region really giving them a challenge. Give me UConn to win this one in a battle of two teams that just made it to the Natty.
Yeah, UConn has been pretty dominant here. So Illinois, Iowa State. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, this is going to be a great game. This one's tips off at 9:09, so this is going to be a late game to watch. Illinois,
Tip-off time.
one of the best offenses in the country against Iowa State, one of the best defenses in the country. Usually defense wins championships, but I like the style that Illinois has been playing with. They took out our beloved Duquesne. They absolutely blew the doors off of them. Iowa State struggled a little bit with Washington State in the first half, but they absolutely dominated them. I think Illinois is playing a great brand of basketball. They look great in the Big Ten tournament. I believe they won the Big Ten tournament against Wisconsin. So they've been really rolling the past month. So give me Illinois. I think that Purdue's playing well. Illinois is playing well. Nothing against Iowa State, but give me a 3 seed over a 2 seed. So give me the Fighting Illini to move on.
So I'm going to differ from you here. I'm actually picking Iowa State.
So you got to flip the coin then for the
yeah. We'll let Jacob and Wade get in on the official bracket, but just I guess we'll for this sake, since it's only the two of us, we'll just discuss the Sweet 16 matchups. And I know the Elite Eight will happen right before our next show, but we can kind of recap that as it goes on. But we'll just go from all the regions. So we'll go down to the West. North Carolina, Alabama. What are you thinking? Who moves on here?
Yeah, this is going to be a great matchup for guard play. You got R.J. Davis, and then you got Mark Sears. Mark Sears been playing a phenomenal tournament, and then you got Armando Bacot down low. I picked North Carolina in the national championship game, so why would I go against that? That would be a cop-out for me to pick Alabama. Alabama, I had them ultimately losing against St. Mary's, but St. Mary's lost to the Grand Canyon Lopes, who was a team I was pulling for to make a run. But Alabama, has definitely been playing well. Their offense, as long as their three-pointers can get on track. But North Carolina just absolutely dismantled Michigan State. So I think this is a team that's on a mission. They want to get back to the Final Four, and I think that they take down Alabama on their way.
I agree with you. I'm going North Carolina on this pick. Next one out of the West, Clemson, Arizona. I'm going with the Tigers. I'm not going full chalk on the bracket. I'm going Clemson to take down the Wildcats.
Well, I want to see this matchup play out, so I'm going to pick Arizona. Arizona with Cale Love, who formerly was the point guard for North Carolina. So I want to see that revenge game happen. So sorry, Clemson, just for storylines. I'm going to not pick against you, but Clemson looking really well. They dominated New Mexico, and they really dominated. It wasn't even close, honestly, against Baylor. They really controlled the majority of that game. So Clemson with P.J. Hall has been playing down the stretch. I would not be shocked if Clemson pulls off the upset. Arizona is prone to up and down game. But keep in mind, this game is in Los Angeles, so that does favor Arizona. So give me Arizona to win this one. They get a date with North Carolina in the Elite Eight.
All right, let's go on down to the South. We got Houston taking on Duke. Houston being a team that typically wasn't known for their offense is what everybody was worried about. They ended up scoring, 94, 95 last night against Texas A&M. I know it went into overtime.
They scored 100. What are you talking about?
Was it 100?
195.
195. What are you talking about, Tyler?
They scored 100 to 9. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
100 to 95.
Yeah, so they scored 100. My bad. But, I mean, they had 86 at the end of regulation. So, I mean, they put some points up on the board. I'm taking on a Duke team that has looked really good. Who do you got in this matchup, Tyler?
Yeah, Duke is looking really good. I think that a lot of people had some question marks about this Duke team. They were pretty much one and done in the ACC tournament. They lost to NC State, who's been on an absolute heater. I picked Houston for a reason to win the national championship. Why go against that? I think facing the adversity helps them coming off the overtime game. They're going to be rested up. They get a couple of days of rest. That'll be good. I think that would not be shocked this one goes to overtime too. These are two evenly matched teams. But give me the Cougars. This one's in Dallas. This is pretty much going to be a home game for Houston. So give me the Cougars to advance on.
I like it. I like the Cougars as well. NC State Marquette, I'm actually rolling with the Wolfpack, baby. Why not? They haven't lost yet. Keep it rolling. Go NC State.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with NC State too. I got to be rooting for at least one Cinderella story. It's tough to pick against Marquette. Tyler Kolek, he's just been dishing out assists left and right. Cam Jones, he's been on an absolute heater. Shaka Smart, one of the best coaches in college basketball, but you got to go with a double-digit seed. Can't go all chalk here. I'm gonna go with DJ Burns at NC State, the Wolfpack, continuing on their hot stretch and get a date with Houston in the Elite Eight. We'll see if it happens. I think that the winner of that one could definitely create some chaos.
Uh, I agree with you there, Tyler. Midwest, Purdue, Gonzaga. What are you thinking?
This is going to be a very good matchup too, but man, it's hard to pick against Purdue right now. The way that they've been playing, I definitely think that Purdue. You're talking about a team on a mission. That game against Utah State was not close. Zach Edey, he had 30 points in game one against Grambling, 21 at the half. Before really didn't even have to play because they were by like 50 at some point. So Gonzaga really playing well. The two blowout wins against a hobble Kansas team that's been dealing with injuries. And then the McNeese Cowboys, poor old McNeese. They definitely got a bad draw against Gonzaga. So going to be a great game. I think that this is going to be probably the closest game that both of these teams has played in the tournament. But this Purdue team's on a mission. I think that they make it to the Elite Eight.
I think they heard the hate from last year. They heard all the doubt, and they are erasing any of it from our minds. I'm going Purdue also. Last one, Creighton, Tennessee. How do you see this one faring out?
Yeah, this is going to be a very good game. The line is as close as pretty much every game, 2.5. Both of these teams have a lot of talent. Tennessee with Dalton Connect, Sakai Ziegler. Creighton's got Baylor Scheineman, one of the best bucket getters in college basketball. And then you got Kalkbrenner, who's a big man down low. This is going to be a great game. I was going back and forth on this one. I had both of these teams face off in the Sweet 16. I'm going to stick with old Rocky Top. I think that they get it done. This is going to be a close game, probably the game of the Sweet 16 that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on. The winner of this one, I could see, honestly, win the national championship, the way that both of these teams are playing. But give me Tennessee to survive and advance one more weekend.
I've seen enough of SEC teams let me down. I've got Creighton to take it. I actually just switched from Tennessee to Creighton.
Well, I don't want to go because I know that Jacob and Wade are very high on that team.
Yeah, so we'll see how this fares out. By the time we do the next show, the Elite Eight would have just wrapped up. But in an effort to save a little bit of time on this show, let's kick it on down to college baseball, Tyler. A little weekend recap. Clemson, was Florida State undefeated before they played this weekend against Clemson? Or did they? Yeah, so they were undefeated, led by at least 5 runs.
They led in every game.
Like not they by I think it was maybe at least 8 in every game. I think it was at least 5. And Clemson came back to win every single game and sweep Florida State. Talk about just an absolute dismantling. I mean, that's like what do we do? I mean, LSU's got its own problems losing the series to Florida after that just debacle. We'll have a YouTube video coming out tomorrow, so make sure you subscribe as we go into depth on that one. I don't want to even go into depth on it here because I am not prepared to get to that mental headspace that I've got to get to talk about this LSU baseball team. But that one's rough for the Seminoles. I mean, to lead in every game and not just like a minute lead. I'm pretty sure. Am I thinking of the right game? They had a walk-off grand slam on Friday to win it.
They did. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, golly, talk about
3 brutal losses by Florida State. I mean, looking at the ACC, Duke also lost their series. Actually, I think that was the game that you were talking about. NC State hit a grand slam against Duke. Wake Forest, they even had some struggles with their pitching staff. So ACC is going to be wide open. Clemson's a team, that they made it to the regional last year before getting ousted by Tennessee. But they already had a good victory series win against South Carolina, a team that might be a dark horse in the SEC East. So Florida State, those are 3 it's not really 3 bad losses, but like you were up pretty much in every game, and you ended up losing them. So Florida State, you're going to be fine. I think that's going to be a team that is going to make the postseason, same with Clemson. But huge victory to not only win 2 out of 3 against a team like Florida State, but to get the sweep, that really is going to set you up to be a potential national seed for the Clemson Tigers.
That's a big RPI win right there for Clemson.
Absolutely.
In the SEC, you mentioned South Carolina. They're not even ranked, and they come out and they sweep. Vanderbilt was 4?
Number 3, I believe.
3. Yeah, sweet Vanderbilt, which is just shocking. I'm surprised South Carolina is not ranked. They should definitely be ranked. I think that D1 baseball came out this week. Has them in the top 25. But I mean, Tyler, what are you seeing from Gamecocks right now?
That was honestly 3 dominating ones. Like
Yeah.
Vanderbilt didn't really stand a chance in this one. I was very shocked. Vanderbilt looked like they were starting to play some good baseball. They had some early in the week, especially in the midweek. South Carolina too. Like I mentioned, losing the series that's Clemson, but South Carolina, the SEC East is loaded. I think that Florida definitely is my pick right now. They got a huge win on the road against against LSU at Alex Box Stadium. I know that we're going to talk about that more in depth. I don't even want to.
Nope.
I guess we have to. But yeah, I think that South Carolina, Tennessee, they got a big victory this weekend against Ole Miss. So I think that those are going to be your top 3 teams. We'll see if Vanderbilt can figure it out. But yeah, that's a tough one to take. You can take losing, 2 out of 3, but getting swept in the SEC, which is definitely going to be a gauntlet for anybody. So great series win for South Carolina, and we'll see if they can keep it rolling. Vanderbilt, though, might be going back to the drawing board. That's going to be an interesting series in 2 weeks when Vanderbilt and LSU gets together at home for a 3-game series. So we'll see how both of those teams do this week.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned getting swept in the SEC. Georgia swept number 11 Alabama after being swept
They were
by
0-3.
Kentucky. Yeah, they got swept by Kentucky last weekend.
The
They come
SEC,
in and
man.
sweep Alabama. Pretty wild stuff. Let's see. I'm looking through some other headlines. Yeah, no, at one point to talk about the Florida State Clemson game, Florida State led 4-0, 8-1. In the bottom of the 9th, they led 8-1, Tyler. Golly. And 10-2 in the 6th inning on Sunday.
You go from potentially winning the series to just falling apart in the 9th inning.
8-1, Tyler, in the bottom of the 9th. That shows that baseball is never dead. You're never dead in baseball,
especially college.
Let's see. At one point, they were down 11-2, and they hit two grand slams. I'm just kind of looking through some headlines to see if anybody else sticks out. You've got
Oklahoma State won against TCU. TCU started off the season out. Now they're struggling.
Yep. UTSA got the series victory over number 10 East Carolina. So that
was their first series win as an American team.
Yeah, I guess to discuss the LSU collapse. Of course, the extra innings on Saturday. Let's discuss the missed third strike rule. I think that is absolutely bases were loaded, right? There's nowhere to put them, and it's a swing and a miss, drop third strike on a curveball in the dirt. That's you got to be out of the inning there. And I know I'm a little biased because it happened to LSU, and that's ultimately what led Florida to tie the game and end up winning in extra innings. But I mean, that has got to be the dumbest rule in baseball. I mean,
it goes into the stat book as a strikeout, but yet, hey, I get to mosey my way on to first base, and that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I understand if there's no one at first, right? First base is open. Okay, that's kind of a quirky thing in baseball. But if there's someone at first base, and I guess maybe because shoot, he's moving anyway. I don't know. It's a weird rule. I don't like it, obviously. Not a fan of it. And then let's talk about the umpires in the game. I mean, come on. You're giving warnings, and then you're going to not do anything when clearly Caglione has a little bit of words for Hayden Travinci. The umpiring this year has been soft. I mean, why even give the warning? Let the guys jar. That's a competitive spirit, right? I mean, the LSU and Florida hate each other, obviously. What do you think about the whole umpire situation?
Honestly, I wasn't even worried about the umpire situation because I turned that sucker off as soon as they went up 6-2. It was over by then, just because the offense was out of it. We'll get more into it, but LSU was an out away from winning 2 out of 3. This would have been a different discussion with us. We'd be all joyous, hey, we're back on track. We're 3-3. Now you sit at 2-4, and what do you got? You got to go on the road to the number 1 team in the country with Hagen Smith on the bump on third, and it's a shortened weekend. You start Thursday, Friday, Saturday because it's Easter this weekend, And guess who your midweek is? It's Southeastern Louisiana, a team that you struggled to beat, and you needed a miracle to even get away with them.
Yep.
LSU loses this one. There's going to be a lot of panic in BR. It's not going to be like firing Jay Johnson. He just won a national champion. But the
Obviously.
panic is going to be there's a national champion curse of, the national.
Yeah.
If you won it if you won a national championship the previous year, they have not made the postseason. Hangover. And it very well could be likely if LSU doesn't get a series win in the next 3 weeks.
Let's put it this way: they have an opportunity to rise to the occasion to play the number one team in the country. They can either meet that opportunity or they can lay down and get steamrolled. Let's see how they answer. And like I said, we'll break it down tomorrow in our Bayou Bengal Bites. That'll be coming out as soon as we record it. We got to figure that out. So make sure you subscribe. But we've got NASCAR Neil in the studio. Here we go. Let's add him in. Neil, how's it going?
Doing good, guys. Doing good.
How was you were live in Austin this weekend? How was the race?
It was good. I decided to make the 3-hour drive down to Austin from here in the fourth area. It was a pretty good day. It's a beautiful facility down there at COTA. It's international series track. F1 races there, world endurance races there. Beautiful facilities. Massive place. Just walking around, I broke 6 miles walking yesterday, which is insane.
I hope you didn't have your boots on you. That's
I did because
the dogs just keep barking.
Because you know me, Chet. There's not many places I go without wearing my boots. So, but it was beautiful facility, getting massive. I ended up I went there with the plan of moving around because it is a road course. It's a 3.5 mile track, just about. You can't really see it, but a friend of mine had to meet me down there. He's like, "Hey, I got an open seat in the stands in turn 1." I'm like,
"Yeah,
cool.
Seats look great. Seats look
because traditionally turn 1's a chaos zone. Most places is a can't miss place to be. I'm like, cool. I'll go up here, at least start the race. But then ended up being kind of a boring area. Nothing crazy happened in turn 1. No one dove bomb in, but it was still fun. Like the weather ended up being nice. It was hot, cloudy, wasn't too sunny. So, but yeah, it was a pretty good race as a whole in terms of just sheer nothing major happened. There was a big debate with track limits because with NASCAR, they were only enforcing track limits in what they call the S's, which is a weird back and forth kind of like S kind of section on I guess the third kind of straightaway, I guess, of it you want to call it, because that's the only area they're really enforcing it. There were guys going super wide in turn 15 or so.
Explain this track limits thing to me. Like, what are we talking about here? Is it they go off the track into the grass a little bit? And you can't do that, or
this track is paved a lot on the shoulders. A lot of other road courses in America, there's either grass around the edge or gravel.
Right.
But here, there's massive runoff spaces, especially coming down the back straightaway. These guys were just blowing around the turn. There's a turn. I forget the numbers because they're all. It's
like not just turns. 4 left turns here.
There's 18 turns, but going into the back straightaway, they were all 4 wheels off the track, cutting in the dirt almost. It was almost to the point where it was worse to drive on the actual track because there was so much dirt being kicked up on there.
Oh wow!
But the only area they were doing a pass-through penalty if you shortcut it, which ended up being detrimental to Chase Elliott, who lost control in the S's and ended up having to do the penalty after running in the top 10, which kind of killed his day and they tried to argue, hey, we were forced over there. We lost control. It wasn't us trying to shortcut it. But, yeah, in terms of action on the track, Reddick and Gibbs both had fast cars. Ty Gibbs, being a sophomore season's having a great year. I think he's finished the top 10 every race so far this year. The kid's 21 years old and probably should have won yesterday. I had money on the win yesterday. I'm like, this is his chance.
You can't do the straight up wins, Neil. You gotta go with the top 10s, man.
I know.
You told us that last year.
I know, but still, still when you see somebody plus 600, it makes you want to do it. But speaking of Gibbs and Reddick, late in the race, Gibbs was running second with Reddick behind, with Bell behind him. Bell had about 4 laps fresher tires. Running down them both, probably could have made a run on a later Byron. Gibbs just let him by him, and it's kind of a wish-washy move. People were doing it social media yesterday, and a lot of the shows I listened to on Monday mornings were like, there was a good chance if he let him by, then Bell could have had a shot later, especially if the late caution happened. It could have set up Bell to be in a good spot, maybe get the win for Gibbs Racing because the two of them were teammates. And it's not surprising for the young Gibbs to screw his teammates over. He screwed his teammate out of a chance to make the Final Four of the Xfinity Series 2 years ago. But but overall, there was some action, but it was fairly boring. I actually opted to get out of my seat and start walking back to my car with about 15 to go, which took me 10 laps to get
traffic. Gotta be
no,
traffic.
I mean, especially 3 hours to drive home. But it took me 10 laps to get even to the front gate. I had my radio. I have a personal radio. I was listening to that. I was walking by, and as I'd walk around, I'd watch the action as I got to different parts of the track. But yeah, it was actually a pretty. I mean, it's also, I think if I moved around through the day, I may have had more fun. But having a friend I hadn't seen in a while, I decided to hang out with him a little bit and sit up there in turn one. But yeah, but William Byron gets the win, second win of the year. He won the Daytona 500 start of the year. It turns out he's the first Cup driver to get 10 wins in the next gen car, which is the third year of it. And it's actually, I saw a fun stat right before I hopped on here. It's taken him the longest of any driver of any generation of cars to get to the 10 win mark for any single driver, which is kind of crazy. Like just breaking it down from the 50s on, we're on our eighth or seventh. I think it's the 8th generation car, and it's the longest run to reach 10 wins for a single driver. But another interesting point was SVG, who we talked about last year, winning Chicago, running full-time Xfinity Series, ended up finishing. He should have finished top 5, but he ran grid all day, had a late penalty at the end of the race, track limits penalty, bumped him back to 29th, but he was in contention. I think he'll get an Xfinity Series win at one of the road courses. If I had to guess, probably Sonoma in later this spring. But even him yesterday, he was running pretty good all day yesterday. But again, the playing field's kind of leveled. First time on the track for him, whereas these guys have been coming for 3 years, and it's starting to come. People are starting to think his win last year was all circumstances. No one's ever been on that course, took advantage of it, being a street course guy. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's first race of the year of the 3 I have planned. Looking forward to Texas here in 3 weeks, so should be fun.
So where's the Texas race at? That's close to you up in Dallas, right?
It's literally 5 minutes from my house.
There you go.
I live right here by there. I usually Uber up there with a cooler full of beer, having a good time. I got the racing Friday through Sunday. I'm gonna go all 3 days. I picked up some new merch yesterday because the best place to get NASCAR merch is from the track. I got a new hat, a new shirt for one of the guys I'm a new fan of. So, who
do we got on the shirt?
Josh Berry. He's actually from Middle Tennessee. Funny enough, he went to high school with Taylor Swift.
Oh, well, a little celebrity.
Yeah. Him and a guy named Justin Newgarden, who's a big IndyCar driver. They all 3 went to school there up in Hendersonville.
Watch out, Travis Kelce. We got Josh
Berry.
Berry.
And he's a grassroots guy. He was in a couple years. He's older, kind of got into the Cup. He's having a pretty rough year, but it's just with a struggling organization as a whole. But I'm like, you know what? I got to represent where I'm from. Middle Tennessee. We all sit together from there. It's like cool, So I was over there buying this hat. I'm like, oh, that's a good shirt. I need another shirt for a full race week. And I only have one other racing shirt. So I got to pick another one for Saturday or something. So and also this hat. I was like, all right, I love RFK hat. He's with my guy Brad K. That me and Chew are both big fans. I was like, saw the hat. I'm like, it's a good hat. Why not? So I spent a good bit of money yesterday throughout the day.
Unfortunately, you weren't able to win the money, but I mean,
but
it'll come to you eventually, Neil.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'll bet again when I'm there in a couple weeks. But it's just at this point, I may break down and do some top 3 bets or some of that. That my buddy I was sitting with, he won both his top 3 bets yesterday. So I'm like, dang it, man. He had Gibbs and Reddick both in top 3, and they both put it off. I was like, dang it, man. I'm happy for you. And he goes, yeah, I bought dinner. I'm like, well, you only had to drive back to Belton, so you had a lot shorter drive than I did. So
yeah. So what's a big storyline we need to be watching, Neil, going forward through the NASCAR season?
I think the big storyline is kind of so far as I touched the first of the year started with the Ford Toyota's new bodies. Toyota seems to be dominant so far this year. They're on a roll. I mean, they were fast yesterday. They were fast at Bristol last weekend. Got the Bristol win last weekend with Denny Hamlin. They should be fast this weekend at Richmond, which Easter Sunday they moved it to a night race. It moved up Saturday stuff, so a lot, and it's closer to home for them being in Richmond, Virginia. So it looks like it should be. I'm looking for the Toyotas to dominate. The Fords have struggled. Like they haven't been consistent fast. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, people, but at the same time, they struggled through the last 2 seasons and won the championship the last 2 years, But it's like, but it'll be interesting to see what happens here at Texas because they were fast at Texas last year, 1.5 miles. But I'm looking forward to this weekend at Richmond to see what happens. I think the Toyotas will be fast again. They were fast at Bristol, another short track. They were fast at Phoenix, run the same package there. But again, Chevy's still dominating, though. They've got 3 wins this year already.
So potential a little better insight here. You look at who's racing the Toyota cars, and maybe you put them in a top 10.
That was most of my bets yesterday. Were all those guys. Like, I mean, that's the Joe Gibbs guys, which is Hamlin, Truex.
Take your own advice, Neil. Got to take your own advice.
I know. I mean, those Toyotas guys, and even or really the mainline Toyotas guys. The Legacy is still struggling their first year with Toyota, but you look at the guys from 2311 and Joe Gibbs Racing, they're fast. Like I'm honestly I'm looking forward to Texas because there were some guys who kind of blew opportunities at Texas last year in the Toyota camp that I'm excited to see what happens there in a few weeks.
Oh, I like it, Neil. I like it.
But we got a nice little couple short stuff here. I think it's Richmond, and I believe they're staying on the East Coast for the next 2 weeks. I'm about to check where they're at before they come to Texas. I'm blanking.
So they go Texas, then to the East Coast, then back to Texas. That's
it's Texas. They're at Richmond next week in Virginia. Then they're at Martinsville, which is again Virginia. Two great short tracks. Then Texas. Then the Great Talladega. And then they're kind of bouncing around a little bit before the summer, and then there's Olympic break in August. They're taking 2 weeks off in August. So
we need NASCAR in the Olympics. That'd be quite the spectacle.
Hey, IROC was a thing in the early 2000s, and they're trying to bring it back, which was a competition between all international disciplines. We had some international guys yesterday. We had Kobayashi, who's a endurance racer, SVG, who again is a multi supercar racer from Australia or New Zealand, or from New Zealand. But they raced in Australia there. I think in the Xfinity race they had 7 countries represented with a guy from some. They got it from I think somewhere in Eastern Europe or somewhere like that. There's a full-time guy from Mexico, Daniel Suarez. There's a decent little spread of guys that are racing at all these races though from around the world.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you were able to come on and kind of recap your experience. We're hoping for a more exciting race in Texas in a couple weeks.
Oh, I am too. It usually is.
Pumping.
Oh, I'm excited. Like I said, that's a day. I'll have my cooler. I was combined with
lights flowing. Good to go.
And you combine that yesterday with the exorbitant beer prices. They didn't have to drive 3 hours. I was probably the soberest I've ever been at a race. So, but it was still fun. Like it was. I mean, it's a beautiful track, and it's something that I may do it again another next year. It'll all kind of depend on when it is, because they may move it around the schedule. But overall, they were talking about it. It was nice. The pre-race concert was fun. Like it was overall, they had a really good experience there. So
awesome. Well, that's good to hear. Hey, that's all about growing the sport and getting the experience. That's what you need.
And it is nice though. The point I'll bring up is that the ratings are up this year, like on average, like 10 to 15% every week so far this year. A lot of that there's been a credit to the Netflix show that came out going into the season. They're driving a lot of new fans. I'm worried that yesterday's snoozer will kind of hurt it a little bit because it was pretty boring on the unofficial poll that a prominent media member does every week. They're trailing like 50 or around 56% of people saying it was a good race. So it was pretty bleak overall. People are saying so.
Well, let's here's to some more excitement in the future. So I think that pretty much wraps up the Sports Scramble for this week. Neil, appreciate you coming on as always.
Guys.
Tyler, 2-man show, but we made do with it. Neil, any last minute comments to the viewers before we send this sucker into the stratosphere?
Hey, my bracket is doing just about as you guys. I think I'm in 9th in our league right now.
Yeah,
And
it's
but
a rough
good
one.
for all of us.
But I do have 14 of my 16 teams in the Sweet 16 though, so
Well, there you
so
go.
I'm doing okay there at least.
To end it, I want to hear a start your engines. Gentlemen,
No,
start your. Let's hear
you
it.
won't
Come
hear
on,
it.
Neil.
No,
Get
I
the
think that's no.
All right, well, we'll get them for it next time. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for the episodes throughout the week. And we'll be back next week as we always are. See you.